How would you like to live where you love in the state of Alabama? Whether it is you're upsizing, downsizing, retiring at the beach, or relocating for your job, then you are going to want to contact Celeste Hagler, owner of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, with brokers in Tuscaloosa, Orange Beach, and Huntsville. They can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is 205-861-5698, and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals anywhere across the state of Alabama. Jeff Bagwell of Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is a professional biologist who specializes in lake management. If you are interested in helping build the pond or lake of your dreams, or if you need help deciding if property you own is a good location to build a pond, you can contact Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Contact him today and let him help you build the lake or pond of your dreams, or also stock your pond or lake with fish that you most desperately need. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. This is the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are about to be previewing the first round matchup between Alabama and Oklahoma. Both teams will face off for the third time in 13 months tomorrow evening in Norman, Oklahoma. Alabama has lost the last two to Oklahoma. Will it be a third? Because Alabama's offense has really regressed over the back half of the season. However, they are in the playoffs, and the real football matters now. Clint Lamb from Alabama joins us right after this open, and then later on, Ryan Aber from Oklahoma joins us to break down the Alabama and Oklahoma matchup right now on this edition of the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Heath, Stingray, Here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, we want to welcome you inside yet another edition of the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with everybody on this Thursday morning. It is a soggy one, across Mississippi and Alabama, and cold across the other parts of the Southeast. But hey, we are looking forward to the first round matchup of Alabama and Oklahoma a second time this season and the third time in the last 13 months. Heath, your thoughts on Alabama and Oklahoma? And just like in the first matchup, it is going to be Brent Venables going up against Ryan Grubb of Oklahoma's defense, going up against Alabama's offense.
First things first, Stephen. I owe you an apology. We were supposed to start at 8:15 this morning. That's on me. So everyone's listening. Stephen's upset. So he's going to be giving me evil eyes, and he might shake his head at me every now, just like that. Just like that. So, no. Stephen, I apologize. That's on me, man. That's on me. I'm sorry. I saw 8:30. It's our first guest. We were going to start at 8:15. But with that, I do apologize to you, Stephen.
You're fine.
As far as this game, I won't apologize for this. You don't like matchups. I should say rematches. I love rematches. You don't like rematches. I love rematches.
Yeah.
You said it. This is the third time in 13 months that these two teams are playing.
Yes.
So, in Oklahoma, shockingly, both times got the best of Alabama. Like, no one gave Oklahoma a chance, 13 months ago when Jackson Arnold was struggling and he got the win.
Yeah.
And then he transferred out. He was at Auburn. That didn't work out. And then no one gave him a chance this time around. Oh, Mateer's hurt. He's banged up. This team's going down. They got blown out by Texas. This is a terrible Oklahoma team. They fooled us. Yeah. And here they are in the playoff. They fooled you, all right. They fooled you. They're in the playoff. They fooled you twice. So with that, I can't wait. When they announced the matchups, I was hoping that these two would get together, and I got what I wanted. I cannot wait for this. I keep going back and forth. I change my mind every half hour. Miami and A&M or Bama and Oklahoma. The two games, I can't decide which one I want to see the most. But right now, it's this one, and just because of the rematch factor.
Heath, let me also say this. This is the second rematch in a couple of weeks for Alabama. The first one was Alabama-Georgia. Alabama beat Georgia at Georgia earlier this year in the SEC championship game. Georgia got its revenge. Now, can Alabama get its revenge on Oklahoma after dropping that game in Tuscaloosa? We're about to find out with Clint Lamb, who covers Crimson for Alabama. Clint, how are things with you as we sit here awaiting another matchup of Alabama and Oklahoma?
Well, considering how the first game went, I'm excited to see how this one turns out. Alabama obviously lost the turnover battle 3-0 the first time around. That's not how you win football games.
Right.
But now, while you think that is going to kind of equal out a little bit, you also now have to go to Norman. It's a hostile environment. That defense is really good. Brent Venables, granted, he's not the only one that's going to get 2 weeks to prepare for this one like he did in the first matchup. But at the same time, you give him a couple of weeks to prepare for anybody, and he's going to have a good game plan. So it's going to be a battle, no doubt about it. And I'm looking forward to watching for sure.
Yes.
Clint, for the folks that didn't watch, because not everyone that watches our show is an Alabama fan. We're an SEC show. Tell us what went wrong for Alabama in the first matchup here earlier this season with Bama and Oklahoma.
Turnovers, and that's turnovers on special teams. It's interceptions. Like, Oklahoma kept getting the ball in plus territory and didn't really have to do a whole lot offensively. Like, you look at the fact that their offense has really struggled, whether it be against Missouri, whether it be against LSU. Like, it's kind of struggled ever since John Mateer came back from injury, or really since the injury, because even while he was out, I don't think it was great. But, one of the things that is going to help that out is when you're able to generate turnovers for your offense and put them in a position, especially when you got that field goal kicker, by far the best in college football, incredible talent. Pretty much you give them the football in plus territory, and that's a guaranteed 3 points, if not 7. That takes a ton of pressure off of your offense, and of course the pick six as well. These are not ways you win football games if you're Alabama. So if this time around, Alabama has been really opportunistic defensively, have done a really good job as far as generating turnovers themselves. They were unable to do so against John Mateer in that offense in the first matchup. Granted, they had some opportunities. They just weren't able to capitalize on them. So they'll have to be much better this time around going into Norman, because their offense, at least in recent weeks, has been, I wouldn't say recent weeks, really it's the back half of the season. It's slowly regressed. And so they're going to need some help for sure.
Clint, what do you attribute that to? That was my next question. Every single week, it looks like Alabama's offensive line and their inability to run the football is continuing to catch up with them, and then the added pressure on Ty Simpson is getting to him.
Yeah, I definitely think that's played a part. The offensive line, in recent weeks, it's been dealing with injuries. I think getting a couple of weeks to heal up is going to really help that unit. Now, granted, it had its fair share of struggles prior to any injury concerns.
Right.
So I do like the fact that Cam Dewberry at left guard really started to stabilize things at that spot. On the right side, the combination of Wilkin Formby, kicking him inside the right guard, starting the true freshman Michael Carroll at right tackle. Feel like that side started to stabilize a little bit. Parker Brailsford's been really banged up really since about, I guess, the midway point of the Oklahoma game. And so getting him a couple of weeks to rest up and get closer to 100%, I think that should help him. And Caden Proctor, while he does have some limitations, he's been playing pretty decent football. So hopefully that offensive line can bring his A game against a very formidable Oklahoma defensive front. But it's not just that position. It's tight ends. Josh Cuevas is not really the run blocking first tight end that a CJ Dupree or a Robbie Utes were last year. And, the fact that he's not even been available to add that element to the passing game, I think that's affected things. Danny Lewis was supposed to be that experienced veteran inline big Y blocking tight end this season. He started the season off injury with an injury, and he's been kind of in and out of the lineup. I don't know if he's going to play against Oklahoma or not. That's forced them to kind of turn to a true freshman in Caleb Edwards, who didn't even enroll until the summer. So I think he's going to be a really, really good player in due time. The staff is sky high on him, but he's a true freshman, and he's kind of had a problem sustaining blocks. So I think that's contributed. A lot of other young players they've had to turn to at that position. The wide receiver room has been banged up with various guys missing or not being 100% for a majority of the season. Jam Miller in and out of the lineup with injuries. Daniel Hill's been playing banged up. Ty Simpson, there's been talk about him playing banged up. It's been a lot. Everybody's dealing with it to an extent. It's just when you start breaking down position by position, Alabama's been hit pretty hard, and they've had to turn to a lot of young talent. That should help them in the future, but it certainly caused some inconsistency. And I just think Ryan Grubb right now, as good of a play caller as I think he is, the fact that they don't have that consistent vertical passing game on top of the fact that they don't have a consistent run game, I think it's kind of limited him and what he feels comfortable calling. That's maybe gotten him in his head a little bit. He's tried to get a little too cute at times. And it's just been a collection of issues that's caused massive problems on that side of the football. So it's you can't attribute it to one thing or even one or two things. It's been a collection, but they got to get it figured out before Friday.
And I also want to follow up with everybody was really on top of Ryan Williams all last year because he was a phenom. Where has he gone in the offense this year? Because he's almost non-existent compared to where he was last year.
He definitely has like games where he disappears. And
Yes.
I think that's been kind of a problem. Now, granted, I don't think he's been even close to 100% this entire season. Even against Florida State in the opener, you can just tell he wasn't 100%. He had some sort of band, I think, on his hamstring. When I went back and looked, it was black, so you couldn't really see it very closely. But, I mean, you can tell that just the way he's moving and stuff, it's not how he was moving last year. Now, he's continued to play through whatever he's been dealing with, and it hasn't been something that should limit him to the extent that it has. Last year, he had 7 drops as a true freshman. When I went and first watched Alabama in practice, when he first got on campus, I mean, you'd be taking the practice clips in videos and you'd see him drop at least 1 or 2 footballs going through drills. And, some of that, it's like, man, if you post that, then people are going to run with it and the attacks are going to start. Right. But then you get into the season, and while he made the miraculous plays, he also struggled with consistency as far as bringing the football in consistently. And that has kind of carried over into 2025 as well. It's gotten even worse, in fact. And so not being able, you still see the splash plays. He can still be a dynamic player with a football in his hands. I think they've tried to manufacture some touches underneath, allow him to do some stuff after the catch, which has helped him a little bit. But, just the fact that you can't really rely on him too much as far as the intermediate to deep parts of the field, I think that's affected the offense as well. So, and there's a lot of pressure. I mean, this kid went from being a 17-year-old kid as a freshman to a superstar. You've got LeBron James and all these celebrities tweeting about you, just instant to the top. And that's a lot of pressure for such a young kid. I don't know how I would have personally have handled that at 17 years old. Probably not as well as Ron Williams, if I'm speaking candidly. But, it's while it is a lot to deal with, you still have to go out there and play football. So there's been some inconsistency issues with him for sure.
Clint, you said earlier in due time, and I was like, oh, you're dropping Jay Barker references. That was the name of his book years ago when it came out. we'll leave Jay out. Steven, we're going to get Jay on the show.
I love Jay. I love Jay.
Everyone loved Jay Barker. How can you not love Jay Barker? He was Tim Tebow before Tim Tebow, but we'll save Jay for another day. Clint, what's one thing? Because let me say this first before I ask the question. In these rematches, and this is why I love rematches, you know what the other team did the previous time against you that was successful. And you know that they're going to try to do some of that again, but you also know they're going to try to throw something out at you different. Both teams probably had something that failed. Both teams had something that they succeeded at. Both teams want to clean stuff up and attack you a different way. That's why I love rematches, because things are going to get exploited so many ways. With that, what did Oklahoma do 13 months ago in this season that really put Alabama on the ropes? And Alabama came up short there and ended up in the loss column and not the win column. What did Oklahoma do in those two games to make Alabama taste defeat twice?
I think defensively, the game plan, it was pretty evident. Last year's goal, defensively, it was, hey, a lot of Alabama's offense is generated, starting with Jalen Milroe's legs. Let's limit his ability to make an impact on the ground, and let's take it from there. Let's force him to stay in the pocket. Let's force him to kind of, do things that he's uncomfortable doing. And then just from an anticipation standpoint, understanding your opponent, what they're going to try to do when the legs aren't working for Jalen Milroe, they were able to anticipate and know what Alabama was going to turn to. They jumped some routes, got some interceptions, took it down near the goal line or scored, and really put their offense in favorable situations. And then offensively, it was, hey, we don't have wide receivers. They were so depleted and just were struggling. Looking at Alabama's secondary, they gotten better throughout the course of the season. So you were saying, okay, if it's our wide receivers against their secondary, that matchup's going to favor Alabama. So let's take as much of that out of the equation as possible. They had seen what Vanderbilt had done as far as the, some triple option elements, the shovel passes, and they thought, okay, let's try this. We got Jackson Arnold. He's not a dynamic runner by any means. He's not Jalen Milroe, but he's a lot more mobile than people give him credit for. And they said, especially in the first half, let's give him some volume as far as his legs and try to generate offense that way. It caught Alabama off guard. They weren't prepared for it, and it did enough early on. Like over the course of the game, Oklahoma's offense didn't have just a tremendous amount of success, but once again, it was the defense really taking care of the offense and putting them in favorable situations. It was scoring points for them, and the game got away from Alabama very quickly. This year, it was in some ways similar in the sense that Oklahoma has some limitations offensively, but given Brent Venables 2 weeks to prepare for Alabama's offense, the fact that by that point, Alabama had put on tape enough, we have no vertical passing game or any sort of consistent vertical passing game, and we don't have any sort of remotely consistent run game. So you give a guy like Brent Venables the ability to hone in on just one or two things that you do well and make sure that's not how you beat them. You've got to figure out counter punches to that. And Alabama pretty much, they didn't move the football against Oklahoma's offense. Do not get me wrong. And they did score points, but they did enough to make Ty Simpson uncomfortable, generate some of those turnovers. They did, force a turnover on special teams. Ryan Williams had the fumble. They capitalized on all of it. Granted, some of that was field goals, but that's pretty much all it takes. So with Alabama's offense struggling like it is in this matchup, I don't think you're going to get much help from the special teams. It hadn't been great all year. The punting's been very inconsistent. The field goal kicking's been bad. You've had your specialists. You haven't seen a lot of big returns from Alabama, whether it be, punt return or kick return. And you've even had guys put the football on the ground on special teams a little bit and help out the opposing offenses. So I wouldn't expect it from that unit, but the defense is fully capable, especially going against Oklahoma's offense, to help its offense out. They've got to be able to do what Oklahoma's defense the last 2 years has done a fantastic job of doing, and that is putting their offense in favorable situations.
So, Clint, where do you feel like that Alabama can take advantage of Oklahoma?
I would say in the secondary. Now, granted, that front is very good. The front, the first two levels, defensive front, whether you're talking about the interior guys, they got a lot of rotation, very impactful players, great edge rushers, especially with R. Mason Thomas back. You're talking about a guy who is probably their best player defensively, and so that's really going to add an element for them. So while I do think if you can give Ty Simpson time, you could take advantage of their secondary. Even though I like some of their pieces in the secondary, but they got a couple that you could take advantage of. It's a matter of keeping him as clean as possible and giving him those opportunities. If they can run the football, I thought they did a pretty decent job relative to a lot of these other games. It wasn't a great job when you look at, your standard rushing offenses, but for how much Alabama has struggled on the ground this season, I thought they moved the football pretty decently well on the ground against Oklahoma. If they can have any sort of semblance of that and maybe complement what they're going to want to do in the passing game, if they can get guys catching the football consistently, I do think they'll continue to be able to move the football, even with this game being in Norman. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. Communication is going to be, a lot harder to come by than it was in Bryant-Denny Stadium for that offense. I look at it and I say, okay, you've got a defense that likes to confuse Ty Simpson. They like to present one picture pre-snap, disguise things, switch to a different coverage, or show something different post-snap. How do you combat that? And one of the things you can do is go tempo, where they can't really, be switching up the pictures a whole lot. Alabama has been a very slow-paced offense. The fact that they've had a couple of weeks, maybe they do implement some tempo, and that kind of helps. But at the same time, it's a hostile environment. Once again, communication's difficult. Going tempo on the road is a little bit harder to do. And when it comes to Oklahoma's ability to get your signals when you're going tempo, all it is signals. That's one of the ways to combat that is to go huddle. Don't give them those opportunities. So there's a trade-off, but just what they were doing in the first matchup, I think you've got to switch some things up and throw kind of a curveball, because what you did in the first matchup, they're going to figure out what that was. They're going to have a solution to a lot of that. You got to be ready to counterpunch.
Yes.
Clint, what's one thing that you're really looking forward to out of this Bama team, whether it be offense, defense, special teams, whatever? What's one thing you're really looking forward to in this rematch with Oklahoma?
I would say, just first of all, the fact that they're here, the fact that they're getting this opportunity, it's a step in the right direction in year 2 under Kalen DeBoer. I know a lot of Alabama fans, they want to win. Some people are saying if they don't win, there could end up being some discussions as far as hot seat going into 2026. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I think they've already accomplished more than they did last year, and you're seeing it. While the concern, I think, is the fact that there's been offensive regression in each of his first 2 years, and considering he's an offensive guy, that's going to make you question some things. I like the way that the direction that it's heading. I'm just glad that they're getting this opportunity, and it's an opportunity to kind of right the ship after a game that probably in a lot of ways got away from you. You had plenty of opportunities to win. You didn't make the plays that you needed to. It's another chance to go out there and get that done. Georgia, they got that ship corrected in their rematch against Alabama. Not saying Alabama's going to do the same thing in Oklahoma, but it's the opportunity to do that that I think is going to make a massive difference.
So, Clint, putting you on the spot, man. Tomorrow night, Norman, Oklahoma, all the eyeballs will be on that game, as that is the first matchup of this year's college football playoff team. How do you see it playing out? Alabama or Oklahoma? Who advances to take on Kurt Shignetti and Indiana in the Rose Bowl?
I'm going to go with Alabama in the rematch. Now, granted, it's kind of been back and forth. I guarantee you, if you were to ask me, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I probably would have had a different answer.
Right.
But I think that Alabama's going to have some things, getting guys healthy, a game plan. I think the way that they played with a chip on their shoulder after the Florida State loss, after the Oklahoma loss, I mean, it was a close game to a college football playoff contender. It was a 3-0 turnover battle loss. So it's like, I mean, it was in some ways, some people would view that as a little bit fluky. Not everybody was super down on Alabama. And so the response from it, you didn't need the kind of response that you did after the Florida State loss. But with the way they lost to Georgia in the SEC championship, it was ugly, both sides of the football. Now, granted, the defense did everything it could to hold on. I don't think they played terrible on defense, but the fact that every time the offense or special teams put them in a bad position, Georgia wasn't just able to convert points. You know, if they could have held them to field goals or something on some of those possessions, I think they would have been fine. But it was the fact that every time they were put in bad positions, they were allowing touchdowns. Like, that was somewhat of a disappointment. So just the way that people have responded to Alabama losing the game in the fashion that they did, a lot of people, non-Alabama people, are saying they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Even some Alabama people are admitting they probably didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. I think it's created kind of a chip on their shoulder. And so, you know, they're going to have to go out there and figure out a way to get a win. I have Alabama winning 21-16. It's supposed to be windy, so I don't know. That field goal kicker is really good, though. I mean, I don't really foresee the win being too much of a factor for him. But I do think Oklahoma will move the football a little bit. The one thing in the first game is they weren't asked to consistently move the football on offense the length of the field. All of their points, I think 20 of their 23 points came after, you know, with the ball in plus territory where they were pretty much already in field goal range. I wouldn't be shocked if Alabama gave them at least one turnover, gave them an easy field to get an easy 3 or an easy 7. But overall, I think, you know, Oklahoma ends up scoring 3 field goals and a touchdown. Alabama scores 3 touchdowns because I don't really trust the field goal kicker. And Alabama comes out with a win and moves on to the Rose Bowl against Indiana.
Gotcha.
Wow. Okay. Clint, if there's one thing negative, what does Alabama have to avoid? Turnovers is the obvious answer, but what's one thing they just can't do that might have happened in the 2 previous losses to Oklahoma?
Negative plays, you know, offensively, I think that's been a big one. Like, Oklahoma's defense is so good at generating negative plays. And in the first matchup, Alabama did do a good job of avoiding the negative plays running the football, but Ty Simpson was under duress. They kind of laid out the blueprint for Auburn and Georgia as far as how you want to attack Ty Simpson. You want to present different pictures pre and post snap, and you want to put him under duress with pressure to force him to process that change quickly. And that hadn't exactly worked out great for Alabama. I think Parker Brailsford being injured, he has been a shell of himself. I'm hoping that him being closer to 100% will help him return to previous form where he's a very effective pass blocker. I think, like I mentioned before, the stability on the offensive line, getting those guys back out there together, hopefully that helps. But you're going to have to do whatever you can to be ready and understand that sometimes these defenses, they're bringing numbers that you can't get everybody blocked. Ty Simpson's got to understand that. He's got to get the football out to his hots. You know, it's just processing the information. They've got to be able to do that a lot more consistently than they did in the first matchup. And if they can, then I do think, I mean, even despite the fact that they had those struggles, they still accounted for a lot of yardage. They still scored, you know, 21 points. So, you know, I still think they'll be able to move the football against Oklahoma, but I think they could end up having a little bit better of an offensive output than maybe my projected score of 21 for them if they could do a better job of managing the pressure and stuff this time around.
So, Clint, look, man, as always, thank you for taking time this morning to join us. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Good luck to Alabama and Norman, Oklahoma tomorrow night. And we would love to catch up with you later on to continue talking about the Crimson Tide of Alabama.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. It was a great conversation. And Merry Christmas to you guys as well.
Clint,
All
be
right.
honest. Do you get all your Christmas shopping done?
Absolutely not. Not even close. Yeah. But don't, if you guys tell my wife, 7 days, if you don't tell my wife that. I haven't admitted that. She asked me and I said, I'm getting close. Might not be as close as I claimed. So
Gotcha.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks, Clint. Yep. Merry Christmas, brother.
All right, so Heath, that is going to wrap up the Roll Tide side of this matchup. and their fans really need a good win after that embarrassing performance against Georgia in the SEC championship game. Now we will turn our attention to the Oklahoma Sooners right after this commercial from J&J Apparel right here in Tuscaloosa. Christmas time and the holiday season is fastly approaching, and let me tell you about the best place to get good-looking game day gear. J&J Apparel is your trusted location for one-of-a-kind, officially licensed collegiate apparel for the following teams: Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. They have been serving those fan bases since 2004. Get it online at jnjapparel.net. Once again, that is jnjapparel.net, and there you will find unique polos, tees, and hats for Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. So head on over there now to J&J's website and get some officially licensed collegiate apparel for the fan in your life for Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Auburn through J&J Apparel. Alright, so Heath, let's turn our attention to the Boomer Sooners of Oklahoma. And Heath, I tell you what, man, what a turnaround for Brent Venables and this football team, especially coming into the season. We were talking about them being on the hot seat and him needing to win. I would say, I think it was a minimum of 8 games to keep his job. And look, they are a playoff team hosting a playoff game.
Well, I think they really figured things out on offense. Bringing in a new coordinator having a previous relationship with the quarterback, John Mateer. They both came from Washington State, and kind of implementing. So the quarterback didn't have to learn the offense.
Right.
He just had to learn the tendencies of his new players. And I got a feeling the blocking's a little bit better in Norman, Oklahoma than it is on the Palouse there at Washington State. So with that, this team kind of picked up. We saw how good they could be on defense at times here over the last couple of years, but they were a little bit inconsistent. Look, they spent some money in the portal. They had some hits and misses in the portal. Jaden Knott, the running back from Cal, was a miss. But you look at this team, and it is better at every position than it was last year.
Yes.
And they were a good team last year. They weren't a great team. They were a good team, but they showed flashes. Now you've leveled up at every position on both sides of the ball. This is a good Oklahoma team. And here's the great thing. They flew under the radar all year.
Right.
It's hard to believe that Oklahoma flew under the radar. Look, if Oklahoma was in the Big 12, and this is not a Big 12 SEC thing, it's not. But we knew that Oklahoma was one of the biggest boys on the block there in the Big 12. And in the SEC, a lot of people kind of discounted them. The media just kind of overlooked because they had that season last year, which has nothing to do with this year. Media got lazy on this Oklahoma team. They started winning games. It's like, well, let's see how they do here in the Red River rivalry. They came out flat, is what it is.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, here they come. So, look, they have flown under the radar, and you can't deny them.
Right.
This is one of the better teams in college football. You know how I know that? Because they're hosting a college playoff game. That's how I know that.
Yes.
You don't back into that by mistake. That you don't happen to win that much by accident. You don't host a college playoff football game on accident.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Oklahoma's got the tradition. They got the pockets. And now they have got most of everything in place to make a run. Do I think they can win the national title? No. Could they make it to the game? I doubt it. But you know what? They have proved people wrong all year.
Yes.
That's the thing about Oklahoma that no one's talking about. This team has proved everybody wrong all season long. So, you know what? I cannot wait for this rematch. A lot of people are just like, well, Bama had these turnovers and this and that and, and blah, blah, blah. Make any excuse that you want here. And then lo and behold, Oklahoma wins twice. Beat them last year, beat them this year. And here it is, third time in a row. So can they beat Alabama a third time in a row? I think they can. I think they will. Will I be shocked if Bama wins this game? No. But, man, I am not overlooking Oklahoma. I am so excited to watch this game.
All right, so to preview Oklahoma, here is Ryan Aber, who is with Sooners on SI.com as the Sooners are getting ready to host the Alabama Crimson Tide. Ryan, how are things with you this morning there in Norman, Oklahoma?
Doing great. How are y'all doing this morning?
We're
Man,
doing all
doing
right.
fantastic. Just ready for this matchup, man, for the third time in 13 months.
Yeah, it's certainly didn't anticipate this happening even a month ago, but here we are, and should be another fun one between two teams who have played some really interesting football over the last 13 months, like you mentioned.
Yes.
Ron, I want to ask right off the bat, weather conditions. I heard it could be windy, but what's the weather been like this week? What's the weather going to be like for the game?
Yeah, it's been all right. It's has been a little bit cool this week. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit better, maybe around 50 for the game, which is really nice this time of the year. But it's always windy in Oklahoma, and especially when winter comes around. So the wind will be swirling. It can be a difficult environment, not as difficult as it used to be back when the south end zone of the stadium was opened and the wind would rip through there. But still could be certainly a factor, especially when we talk about special teams and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see just how much that wind's whipping.
So I have a weather forecast for you guys. Meteorologist Stephen Ray right here. And Friday night, it is going to be a low of around 49 degrees with south winds of 15 to 17 miles per hour
Ooh.
with gusts up to 30.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's just a nice light breeze in Oklahoma, though.
Yes.
That's going to be fun, especially if you're throwing into that wind. Ball's going to get there a little bit late. There could be some penalties. There could be some tip balls. That could play a factor. That could
Yes.
play only the gusts. I'm not worried about blowing 15 to 17 miles an hour. I'm just worried about those gusts from time to time.
Yeah, especially
So-
with the way these two quarterbacks are playing right now.
Right.
So, Ryan, I do want to start on the offensive side of the football for Oklahoma. It has been a struggle at times this season. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think a big part of it has been certainly John Mateer's health. Brent Venables said this week that he was still in pain when he's throwing with that thumb. John Mateer has certainly downplayed that quite a bit since returning from that midseason surgery on his hand, but just hasn't quite been the same. And then they haven't been able to run the football for the second consecutive year. There's reasons for that. They've got some running backs who have been effective at times. Xavier Robinson, Torrey Blaylock. It sounds like there's a chance we could even see Javante Barnes in this game, who hasn't played since the fourth game of the season. And then their offensive line they've gotten better as the season has gone on, but certainly haven't been up to the level of the offensive line under Bill Bedenbaugh during the Lincoln Riley era. But they've gotten a little bit better, but they still just haven't been able to find a consistent offensive rhythm. The good thing for them is they've been able to put together big plays and string together drives at opportune times. So while their offense hasn't been good on balance, they've been able to be effective in timely moments, and that's certainly what's helped them in a big way during this streak. I think about the big pass plays to Isaiah Satania that they've had at various points. Deion Burks had a big one against LSU, and John Mateer's broken off on a couple of big runs, including that 20-yard touchdown against Alabama the first time around. And they've just been able to do enough when you've got a great defense and great special teams to be able to put them in the position where they're at.
Ron, you talked about Isaiah Satania there briefly. This kid kind of came out of nowhere. He didn't really do anything the first couple of games of the season. Of course, people started learning his name on that trick play in the Auburn game, which still makes me kind of snicker a little bit. But after that game, he really has turned it on and has been one of the better, if not the best wide receiver in the SEC as far as consistency and production. I mean, this guy has really, really turned it on. I've been highly impressed with him. He's a young guy. Talk about his game, and have you heard anything about him in the game plan as far as the matchup here for the playoff?
Yeah, I'll start there at the end. I think he's absolutely going to be a big piece of the game plan. You look at just the way that they're able to utilize his speed, both on the outside and in some of those short routes that sort of have been an extension of the running game. They've tried to get him more involved in that area. And the main thing that stands out to you about Isaiah Satania is the speed, the world class speed. His dad is a track coach, was at A&M for a long time. His mom was an Olympic runner, and he's got that pedigree of
That's just not
world
fair.
class speed. What's that?
That's just not fair.
Yeah, no, not at all. Especially for those of us who are really, really slow. But you know, he wasn't a guy who did a ton at Arkansas before he transferred, but the things that you were hearing about him, both from the speed aspect coming out of high school in Arkansas, to the way that he really endeared himself to his teammates and his coaching staff since arriving in Norman. The thing you hear about him all the time is just consistency. He is there all the time, working hard all the time. And you wondered just how that would translate. Like you said, it was a little bit of a slow start as they got Deion Burks involved early with the big game that he had against Michigan. Keontez Lewis was a big part of this offense the first half of the season before suffering an unfortunate injury against Kent State that's limited him since then. But Isaiah Satania has just taken off, and it's hard to imagine where Oklahoma would be offensively without him, because it seems like he makes big play after big play, both on the offensive side and in the punt return game, where he was a big factor in this OU Alabama matchup the first time around.
So, Ryan, let's start with Oklahoma. Where should they be most concerned that Alabama can take advantage of them coming into this second time matchup?
Well, I think you've got to start off with those wide receivers. And, Ryan Williams hasn't been maybe the same player that a lot of people expected him to be after his big season last year, but he's still been really dangerous. Jeremy Bernard's been fantastic. And OU gave up a lot of big plays the first time around. You look, I think it was 11 or 10 pass plays, if I'm not mistaken, 10 or 11 pass plays of 15 or more yards in that first game accounted for more than half of those big plays, accounted for more than half of Alabama's yardage overall. Obviously they were able to force some turnovers. A good deal of that came late when Alabama was sort of in scramble mode and had to press the ball downfield, and OU was willing to give up some things. But I think that secondary is going to be tested. Eli Bowen has obviously been fantastic in this game. The last couple years, Cortland Guillory had his moments, Robert Spears-Jennings, but I think those guys are going to need to be at the top of their game in order to try to limit what Alabama does offensively, because they haven't been able to run the ball effectively. OU's run defense has been really good. So they're going to have to try some more things through the air. And I think that's maybe the biggest area of concern, and the biggest path for Alabama to be successful in this game is for Ty Simpson and those receivers to have big games.
Right.
Ron, we had Tim Brando on the show, and we had a long conversation. Well, anytime you have a conversation with Tim Brando, it's going to be long. But he's a great friend of the show. But Tim and Steven don't like rematches. I love rematches, just for the very fact that I said it earlier in the show, what you were successful with the first time, you'll try it again, but it may not be successful the second time. The other team knows that you're going to do it. They're going to try to prepare for it as best they can. And so the thing I like about it is because you got to really dig deep into the bag. And you've really got to be focused, and you have got to exploit any and everything that you can because the other team knows you very well. With that being said, what do you expect to see from Oklahoma in this rematch game with Alabama here start the playoff?
Yeah, I'm with both of you a little bit with rematches. Would I prefer not to see them? Of course, but also just the chess match of it, especially when you get
Right. That's what I love about
coaches
it.
like Brent Venables and Kalen DeBoer that can be creative and shift things around. Brent Venables has done it, week to week, but I think it gets magnified in a game like this where you can look back, 6 weeks ago and say, hey, this uh, worked then. Clearly OU made adjustments even from the first half to the second half with the way they were able to slow down Josh Cuevas after halftime of that first matchup. And I think there's going to be a lot that's similar about this matchup, but also there's going to be a lot that's different. I think Brent Venables is going to find different creative ways to bring pressure. He's done that all year. I think certainly that'll be elevated in this one, especially when you add a guy like R. Mason Thomas into the fold on the defensive side of the ball. But how does Oklahoma's offense? How does Ben Arbuckle figure out ways to maybe gloss over some things that have been problems for them offensively? Is their running game better? What does Kalen DeBoer do offensively to sort of counter some of the pressure and some of the different ways that Brent Venables is going to attack things? I think this is just going to be a fascinating rematch. This is as interesting of a rematch as I can remember in a long time for those reasons. I mean, I think about some of the Alabama LSU ones that we've seen in the past. Those have been fantastic, but this one, just for the coaching minds on both sides of the ball, I think it's going to be really, really intriguing.
So, Ryan, I'm going to put you on the spot. Tomorrow night, Norman, Oklahoma. I should say breezy Norman, Oklahoma. Very cool and a 30-mile-per-hour gusty wind. How do you see it playing out? Who moves on from Norman, Oklahoma to the Rose Bowl to take on the Indiana Hoosiers?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fairly low scoring game. I think you look at both these defenses, Oklahoma on their side at least adds R. Mason Thomas to the fold. Alabama's going to be without one of their best defensive linemen in LT Overton. And I think the fact that it's in Norman, I think with a full complement of defensive guys, as far as we know for Oklahoma, and just a lot of momentum building into this thing. I think Oklahoma is going to do just enough to hold off Alabama. I think Ty Simpson bounces back, plays a little bit more like himself in this one. Alabama is able to make some plays, but Oklahoma is able to force just enough turnovers. And then when you've got the best kicker in the country and Tate Sandell, with some of the problems that Alabama's had special teams wise, I think that could be the difference. I'm going to go 20-14 Oklahoma over Alabama. I think the only thing that would surprise me in this game, if it's a blowout sort of either way, I think this is going to be a close, low scoring game, but Oklahoma does just enough and becomes the first team since the 1890s to beat Alabama twice in one season.
Who was the other team in 1890?
How about the Birmingham Athletic Club?
That was going to be my next guess. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to guess.
Yeah, they weren't even the Crimson Tide then. It was the Crimson White.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
So, Ryan, I want to finish off with this. You have been covering Oklahoma for a long time. A week ago on Friday will be the 3-year anniversary that we lost Mike Leach because he passed away December the 12th of 2022. Do you happen to have a fun or interesting story that you could share with us about Mike Leach during his time there at Texas Tech.
Well, I'll actually share a story from just a few years ago, not long before Mike Leach sadly left us. Uh, Alex Grinch had just been hired as Oklahoma's defensive coordinator, and started looking into his background. And he had been with Mike Leach some, and decided to give Mike Leach a call to ask him, what Alex Grinch was like. I called him up, and Mike Leach answers, because that's what he always did. He would answer when you called him. And just I didn't talk to him a ton when he was at Oklahoma, not enough for him to remember me, but it was very just sort of old time catching up type of things. And he's like, yeah, just a second, I gotta go. I'm at practice right now. I gotta tell these guys what to do. He answered the phone on the practice field, like during a practice. It like you wouldn't ever conceive of any other college football coach that would do that, but that was Mike Leach. Just a phenomenal guy to talk to about football, about life, about anything, and you never knew what was going to come out of his mouth, but it was almost always going to be something really interesting. And I also had a sports editor in Fort Smith, Arkansas, who was actually sort of friends with the Mike Leach family through some connections, and just talked about how just fascinating Mike was, and that whole bunch. He was a different kind of a football coach, a lawyer, not really even a football player, but just had an incredible mind and would always come up with fun things. I think about that '99 season at Oklahoma and a lot of the interesting innovations that he brought offensively. The ninja formation with groups of three players all around the field that just left you scratching your head, but just brilliant football mind, and one of the most interesting people I've ever talked to.
Yes.
Ryan, I'm going to share this one with you because a Mike Leach story came up yesterday. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I've got relatives that live out in Lubbock, and an uncle, and he sent his daughter to Texas Tech, and she married a Texas Tech guy. And so, they are out there in Lubbock. They're both doctors now. But the one thing that I laughed at, they relayed this story to me that there was some kind of like faculty appreciation luncheon at the end of the semester. And there was like some dean or provost or something holding up the line and big shot and trying to big time everybody, trying to be a big shot and run his mouth and trying to be cute and telling jokes. And so Leach gets out of line, grabs a plate, and gets in front of the guy. And so the guy looks at him. He goes, "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" He goes, "Hey, pal, I don't know who you are and I don't care, but everybody in this room can tell you who I am." And just started loading up his plate and walked off. And I thought that was the greatest thing, because I think we could all see Mike Leach doing that someone's trying to be a big time, big shot, and trying to be cute and trying to power trip everybody. And here comes Leach. Like, power trips are not going to play anything with me on or off the field.
Absolutely.
And plate, calls the guy out, and walks off with the victory and a plate full of food.
That's Mike Leach for it. Another quick one. I don't know if y'all have heard the story about 1999 OU Texas. And
oh yeah, I know where this is going.
That Mike Leach pulled, leaving a fake script for the offense, and Texas onto the field, and Texas found it. Thought that they were, it cooked some things up to be able to counteract it. And Mike Leach called things to counteract the counteraction, and OU jumped up big. Texas wound up winning that game, but one of the great OU Texas stories of all time, one of the great Mike Leach scheme stories of all time. I don't know of any other football coach who would have thought of something like that.
Right.
Mm.
So, Ryan, look, man, thank you for taking time to join us. Good luck to Boomer Sooner. And oh my goodness, what that would do for the program of Oklahoma coming into the SEC and knocking off Alabama for the third time in 13 months. That would really solidify them as a true member of the SEC. Merry Christmas to you and yours, and we will catch up with you later on, my friend.
They're already a
Sounds
true
great.
member.
Merry Christmas to y'all. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, you
All
got
right.
your Christmas shopping done? You got 7 days, Ron.
I got to get after it.
Have you
Hopefully, maybe
started? Have you
tomorrow
started?
before the game.
But you have started, right?
Oh yeah, I started
Okay.
a little bit, but still have to get it across the finish line.
All right, guys. Thank y'all. Merry Christmas and Boomer Sooner for tomorrow night.
Merry
Appreciate
Christmas,
y'all.
Ron.
Have a
Be
good
good,
one.
brother.
You too. Okay, so Heath, that is going to wrap up a rather in-depth preview of Alabama and Oklahoma. And this is, like I said, a huge game for both teams. Can Alabama get the bad taste of Georgia out of their mouth? And can Oklahoma continue? And I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's domination of the Crimson Tide, because when you have the opportunity to beat a team for the third time in the past 13 months, I would say that they own you.
Yeah, I think that would be fair to say. They definitely got their number. You can easily say that. You know, I can't wait for this game because one of the fan bases is going to be miserable. If Oklahoma happens to lose, they'd be like, you know, how can we lose these guys? We've beaten them twice. We beat them earlier this year.
Yep.
How do we know we're playing this game at home? If Alabama loses, they're going to be their fan base is going to be absolutely miserable. Like, how in the world are we letting Oklahoma do this to us?
If Alabama loses, I'm sure somebody in the Alabama fan base will want to go on ahead and put up the money to ship DeBoer off to Michigan. You watch.
DeBoer might ship himself off to Michigan and by his lonesome.
Because you remember at the first of the season after they lost to Florida State, someone actually went on a national radio show and said, I'm willing, if I won the lottery, I would put it into a fund to get Byrne and DeBoer out of here. Well, they may actually say that again if Alabama loses to Oklahoma tomorrow night.
If you want to get rid of Greg Bird, you're an idiot.
Yes.
You are. Look, I'll look you in the face. I'll come to your house and ring your doorbell, but I'll say it nicely to you. Or if you want me to say it mean, I'll say it mean to you. But why would you want to get rid of Greg Byrne?
I know.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
I know. I know.
Look at the basketball hires that he has made. Look what he's had to deal with, you know, with baseball, that whole fiasco, and how they've kind of turned that around very quickly. I mean, they're doing so many things outside of football at a super high level, and you're an idiot. You're a completely bona fide idiot. I mean,
let me also say let me say this too. Who would want, and this is with any profession out there, who would really want to take the job of who would want to take the job after the GOAT retires? I didn't see very many people lining up for that job. Lane Kiffin didn't line up for it. Dabo Sweeney didn't line up for it. Kirby Smart didn't line up for it.
Well, I think Lane did. There's stories, there's rumors. I don't know if they're true. I just dropped my phone. But there's rumors and stories of why Lane didn't get it.
Right.
You know, things happened previously when he was on staff there that upset some boosters or a booster. I don't know if those things are true. I'm not going to speculate, but never.
So with that, Heath, that is the best option that Alabama could get was Kalen DeBoer, because of his track record wherever he had been. He was a winner, and especially taking Washington as the runner-up to the national championship. against Michigan. So Kalen DeBoer was the best option at the time. And really, to be honest with you, he has not been a bad fit for Alabama, but based off the success that Alabama had with Nick Saban, it was not good enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I tell you, man, Caleb DeBoer has gotten a raw deal at Alabama. Alabama fans don't think that. I do. That's okay if you think I'm wrong. I might be. I don't know. But to follow Nick Saban and to follow all that prestige and not accomplishments, but accomplishments at a super high level that no one's ever seen in college football ever before,
Right.
you're going to take a step down, if not multiple.
Right.
You can't keep it there. Nick Saban is one of a kind.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same way. I mean, you can name any coach at any place, and that's what's happening.
Right.
That's what's happening. I mean, I could give you a million examples, and we could talk about it all day till we're blue in the face.
Right.
But Alabama, to the fans of Alabama, you're a great program. No one's debating that. No one says anything different. But you're not going to dominate like you did with Nick Saban. You know why?
Right.
Because no one's been able to do that except Nick Saban.
Amen.
And there was only a handful of coaches that were able to dominate. Urban Meyer was able to dominate, but not for a long period of time, but for a short period of time. And you've had other coaches over the years that played at a super high level, and they were able to dominate for a brief time. Nick Saban was allowed to do it longer, and he changed things. He went from a very conservative offense to opening it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is what it is.
Heath, let me say this as well. You have the GOAT retire, and the 2 next seasons after he retires, a 9-win team and a 10-win team that went to the SEC championship game and got in the playoffs. Ask Florida, ask Auburn, ask Arkansas, ask LSU. They would dream of those seasons.
Oh, yeah.
But
Absolutely.
Alabama, it's not good enough.
And that's why people laugh and make fun of Alabama fans, because you don't see it and everybody else on the planet does. And if that hurts your feelings, good. Go look in the mirror and cry to yourself. Like, it doesn't – you're an idiot. I'm sorry, Alabama fans. You're an idiot. I'm not trying to insult Alabama fans today. I'm not. But you cannot have this thought and this – you cannot have this, pre-notion and thought process of we deserve the national title. You don't deserve it. You have to fight for it, and everyone fights for it, and it's not yours. It's never going to be yours. It's up for grabs every single year. It's not like a championship belt in wrestling,
right?
Where you're like, oh, he's the champ. No, it's not like that. It resets. As soon as you win it, it resets.
Yeah.
Immediately. The second it happens, as soon as the game's over, the very next second, it resets for next year.
Yes.
And that's why we love college football, because everyone has a chance the following season.
Yeah. So, Heath, let me also say this. Kalen DeBoer is still working and implementing his system and his style into Alabama, because he is at the end of only year number 2. Year number 2 of following the GOAT. So 9 wins and 10 wins, that's not bad at all.
No, gosh, no. I mean, it's a completely different system on both sides of the ball than what Nick Saban was doing. And so, he's trying to make those things happen. And I don't think he's going to take this Michigan job. I really don't think he's interested in Michigan. I don't think that it is. If he did take it, I understand why. I think everybody completely understands why. The same reason Bill Curry got out of town.
Yes.
We all understand why. But, man, oh, man. I like Kalen DeBoer. I think he is an excellent coach.
Yes.
I just think he needs time to put a system in. And if you don't like his system, that's fine.
Right.
If you were asking, why do we need to change the system? Look, Nick Saban didn't go out on top. I mean, when's the last time Bama's won a national title?
2020, COVID year.
Okay, so it's been 5 years. It's not like Coach Saban went out, with multiple back-to-back titles or anything. I mean, look, I'm not knocking Nick Saban when I say this. 2020, and it slowly kind of started tickering down. It didn't go straight down,
Right.
but it was kind of tailing off a little bit.
Yeah.
Did they have opportunities? Yeah, they had opportunities. Could they have won other national titles? Yeah, they could have.
Right.
Did they? No, they didn't.
Right.
And we all know what happened. We all know why. We all know who, and to blame and everything else. But it is what it is. But I'll say this, Stephen. Let's wrap this up. Let's do a quick post show, and let's wish everybody. But I'll say this: I have no idea who's going to win this Oklahoma-Alabama game. Can Alabama win it? Absolutely. Can Oklahoma win it? Yeah. But I have no idea.
Let's don't do a post show today. Let's go ahead and finish up with predictions for Alabama and Oklahoma. Who you got?
As I've done for many years on this show, there's 3 questions you've got to ask when you predict a game.
Yes.
Which team has the better quarterback? I know this is hard.
They're right there, man.
Okay. So whoever, it's like a SEC baseball weekend. Whoever gets 2 out of 3 is the winner.
I'm gonna say
we don't know that one.
Right
so
now.
We'll go to the next 2 questions and see if that'll push us over. Who has the better coach?
Venables.
I was going to say DeBoer, but you can say Venables. But I'm with you. They're right there.
Right.
And then the third question is,
Oklahoma.
who's playing at home? Oklahoma. So for you, Stephen, you answered 2 questions. You said Venables, and Oklahoma's playing at home.
Yeah.
So that would lean for you to go to Oklahoma. I think DeBoer's the better coach, and that's hard for me to say because I really like Venables.
Right.
But I think DeBoer's been a little bit more consistent in his career, and I think he's had to do a little bit more. And I think he had his team playing at a little bit higher level earlier this year than Oklahoma. But who's the better quarterback? Early in the season, John Mateer all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Late in the season, Ty Simpson, but things have kind of changed.
Right.
Things have kind of changed. So Ty Simpson's not playing at his best. Mateer is still hurting. That's a push, man. Who's playing at home? Oklahoma. So for me, it's 1-1-1. I bet you had 2-0-1. I got 1-1-1. So this is just insane. So This is why this game is the 8-9 game. This is why both these teams are evenly matched.
Right.
Because that's exactly who they are. If this game was played in Tuscaloosa, would your opinion of this game change at all? See, I think for mine it might. So I don't know what to expect. And I'm going to give you the boringest answer. This is going to come down to turnovers.
Yeah.
And we don't know who's going to be that, who's going to come up with that. There could be a player who gets lucky and puts his helmet on the ball and makes it, squirt out. There might be a guy that's just having a bad night. Let's just say John Mateer is having a hard time protecting the ball, or Ty Simpson having a hard time protecting the ball, and he keeps getting hit over and over and dropping the ball.
Right.
I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, if you tell me right now that John Mateer or Ty Simpson both had 3 fumbles, one of them had 3 fumbles in this game, well, I can easily tell you who's going to win the game.
Yeah. Heath, I hate to do it. I really do. But South Carolina, Bama's offense looked awful. Against LSU, if LSU had even a pulse on offense, they would have beaten Alabama. Oklahoma beat Alabama because they got a lot of pressure on Ty Simpson. Auburn was able to harass and get a lot of pressure on Ty Simpson. And then Georgia absolutely annihilated Alabama's offense. What hope do I have that Alabama has changed over 2 weeks on offense since Georgia? I have none. That's why I'm going Oklahoma, because every time I have watched Alabama, their offense has regressed more and more and more, and there's nothing positive about Alabama's offense that gives me hope that Alabama can go out there and win in Norman. I just
Yeah,
I've got to see it. I've got to see that offense be better and not play like it did against Georgia before I can pick Alabama. I've got Oklahoma and Indiana in the Rose Bowl.
that's fair. That's very fair. I'll say this: I don't like the chances for either one of these teams next round.
I don't. Mm,
Yeah, I don't either. I don't. I don't have much hope. Can they do it? Yeah, yeah. I mean, last year we saw upsets in the playoff, and the number one team go down.
I
So I
would
can see it
say
again.
I would say the Indiana matchup favors Oklahoma better than it does Alabama because of Oklahoma's defense again.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'll say this, man. I am heavily looking forward to this game. I have no idea who's going to win. Um, I slightly lean Oklahoma, but I won't be shocked if Alabama wins this game by 21 points. I won't be shocked if Oklahoma wins this game by 21 points. I think we're going to get a good game, and I think whoever wins it is going to pull away late in the fourth quarter and win by 2 scores.
Heath, what was another issue that plagued Alabama all year long?
Well, man, they've been inconsistent in different areas, but
Rushing defense.
oh
Georgia
yeah,
Georgia was able to rush for 141 yards against Alabama. Alabama has yet to stop a Power 4 opponent running the football, and I think it gets them again against Oklahoma. The inefficiencies of Alabama's own offense and their defense can't stop the run. That's problematic for Alabama against Oklahoma.
yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you, Stephen. I'm going to leave you with this joke. Um, how many yards did Georgia rush for in the SEC championship game?
141.
100. So the joke was, hey, did you see the team rushing stats uh, from last week? Georgia had 141 yards. 14 teams had 0, and Alabama had -3.
Yeah, I know.
Alabama was dead last out of 16 teams in rushing yards during the week of the SEC championship game.
Yeah,
Yeah, -3 running yards. I don't know what's going on with that rushing game. I know Daniel Hill's a young guy. He's got a lot of talent. I expect
right.
huge things from him in the years to come. I really think he's going to be a special player, a very special college football player. But we haven't seen it here recently.
Right.
But we haven't seen anything out of that Alabama run game. I don't know if they've just aborted it altogether or what's going on. But yeah, but what if we saw a stat, Stephen? We were able to peek into the future, and it says Alabama ran for 208 yards in this game against Oklahoma. We would say, "Oh wow, Bama won."
Yeah,
But
possibly.
yeah, true. But I just don't know what to expect. Bama's
Right.
just been a little bit more inconsistent, and they're kind of fading a little bit. I think that's
They
because of
are.
their depth. And let's face it, Alabama fans, you don't want to admit this, and Nick Saban didn't have to really deal with this. You don't have depth now in NIL.
No,
You don't have
no,
depth, and you're
no.
not going to get it. No one has it.
Right.
No one has depth. Everyone is spreading out. I mean, listen, if you don't believe me, why is Duke the ACC champions? Why is Indiana the number one team in the nation?
Right.
I mean, I could keep it. Why is Ole Miss in the college football playoff? Because the depth is gone in college football. They're leaving
Yep.
and they're
Going
going to
everywhere
other places
else.
and they're getting to play.
Yep.
I mean, so yeah, why is Vanderbilt a 10-win team? Why do
Correct.
they got a guy that finished second in the Heisman and then showed his butt afterwards? But that's another story for another day. But I mean, this is why Vanderbilt, Duke, Indiana, Ole Miss, they were all bottom feeders for decades. Here comes
And
NIL. They steal some of your depth. They keep some of their pieces, and now they're contenders.
And Texas Tech, too. You got to throw them in there as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, but think about that, Stephen. Let's just go over those names. Think of the history of Texas Tech. Not much there outside of Mike Leach.
Yeah.
Not much there. Indiana, think about their history. Duke, think about their football history. Ole Miss, think about their football history. They haven't been any good since segregation, and I'm not making any jokes with that.
Eli Manning got them a little bit of relevancy.
Yeah, what did he win? Like 9 games one year? And good for Eli.
10.
He did.
10.
He did.
10.
And so, with the bowl game, yeah, I think they got 10. But, you look at this, Texas Tech, Duke, Indiana, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt. None of these teams have history. Alabama does. But why are all these teams and some of these teams in the playoff? It's because of NIL money. No one has depth anymore.
No.
Georgia fans have been complaining about depth. You don't have depth. When you can lose your starting quarterback at Georgia, who's contending for a national title, and he goes to a place like Miami, this is the world we live in now.
Yes.
This is the world we live in. And he has his Lamborghini keys stolen out of his apartment, his car stolen, as we learned on the show yesterday. And then he went out and got another Lamborghini. I wonder what color the first one was and the second one was. Do you know?
Don't know, don't care, man.
I might actually waste like 90 seconds of my life looking at that later today if I think about it.
All right. So, Heath, that is going to wrap up this edition of the Stingray Show. Tomorrow, we have a former Auburn head coach joining us to talk about his career in coaching and to talk about the college football playoff games. None other than Gene Chizik joins us at 8 a.m. in the morning, right back here on the Stingray Show. We will see you then tomorrow morning. And Heath, be on time.
Yeah, I made that mistake. I'm sorry, Stephen. I felt bad about that. That's why I apologized. I did feel bad. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. All right, dude.
You're right. I'm fine. I run this show.
We will see you on the Fun Fried Bologna Friday edition of the Stingray Show with very special guest Gene Chizik tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Be there for all of the great fun, and we will see you then. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday and stay dry out there because it is a wet one across the Mississippi and Alabama states.
And Stephen, 7 days. Have you even started your Christmas shopping?
I have. I got it done.
Good. And you're done?
I'm done.
All right. Well, hopefully you won't try to kill me with your gift this year. I know I was late, but don't try to kill me again, all right?
I won't. All right, man. See you, bud.
Well, I was trying to make my arm look longer than it is. It's not that long. So,
right.
All right. Stephen, enjoy your Thursday. Have
You
fun.
too.
And I'll see you tomorrow with Coach Chiz.
Okay. 8 o'clock. Be here.
I will.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Talk to you, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. That's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. The chill is in the air, and what goes well with cold weather? Soups. The Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama, has the following soups to choose from. Meaty vegetable soup, which is absolutely delicious. Loaded potato soup. Black bean soup, smoked ham and white bean chili, regular chili, which is another great option, or Creole gumbo. Now, the Coker Market is open Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. And to find out which soups they are going to have each day, you can find out at the Coker Market's Facebook page, The Coker Market. So check out their Facebook page today to see what kind of soups that the Coker Market is going to have, and go by there and get warmed up with some of the soups there at the Coker Market. We all enjoy the changing of the seasons. Fall is a special time to be thankful for our families and many blessings. It is also a great time, though, to review your insurance coverages. Alpha Insurance and hometown agent Jeff Nee can help you personalize your insurance needs. The more you protect, the more you save. With helpful customer service teams right here to serve you in Alabama and over in Mississippi, you can count on Alpha to provide the insurance plan that provides the protection that you need. For all your auto, home, life, and business insurance needs, call Alpha agent Jeff Nee or drop by his office at 202 McFarland Boulevard East, Suite 101 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And remember, with Jeff Nee, the more you protect, the more you save. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Christmas time and the holiday season is fastly approaching, and let me tell you about the best place to get good-looking game day gear. J&J Apparel is your trusted location for one-of-a-kind, officially licensed collegiate apparel for the following teams: Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. They have been serving those fan bases since 2004. Get it online at jnjapparel.net. Once again, that is jnjapparel.net, and there you will find unique polos, tees, and hats for Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. So head on over there now to J&J's website and get some officially licensed collegiate apparel for the fan in your life for Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Auburn through J&J.